Welcome back. We want to have a little more clarity and explanation into the conflict between Israel and Hamas that began over the weekend. To do that, right now I'm joined by Rabbi Tony Prater with Beth Chaverim of southern Idaho out of the Twin Falls area. And just Rabbi Prater, just to make this as basic as you can for our viewers, why are we seeing this conflict between Israel and another side, whether it be Hamas, Palestine, or whoever joins that front? Why is this even going on?
Well, I mean, this goes back, for years and years, and it really comes down to the Palestinians feeling oppressed that they don't have control of all of the land of Israel at this point. And they're not overly willing to share it in the way that Israel's offered up to share it. And so there's a conflict, always going to be a conflict that way. People want something that somebody else has. That's the nature of it. It comes down also to some religious conflict involved in all of this, which is, the Jews and the Arabs and the Muslims have differing opinions on a lot of things. A lot of very similar things, I will say, but they also have some different things, and those come back to control of the land as much as anything.
Okay. For myself, I've always made it so simplified for me to understand it. I've always look at it like it's a fight over dirt, which would be property. It's a fight over dirt, birthrights from biblical times, and religion. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think it's very fair to say. It's and sometimes you even simplify it more. Sometimes I would say it's kind of the Hadfield and McCoy situation that you always hear about, is that sometimes they fight because they fight, and sometimes it's without always knowing the why. But the why really does come down to those very three things that you mentioned, and okay. That's really what's causing this right now.
Let's move this a little further. Countless people from across the globe have been reaching out to express their sympathies, either one side or the other, whether it be Israeli or Palestinian. This weekend, as it ramped up, what have you heard from around the Twin Falls community or the southern Idaho, back here at home community?
Well, I think the good thing is I have family, I have kids, I have grandkids there in the middle of all of this, and I have a lot of friends. And the good thing is that the Muslim community here has reached out to me and said, Tony, this is not us, just so you know, this is not us that's doing this, and have been very supportive, and I belong to some groups with them, so we know each other well. So I think the small communities like where we live, we're very blessed to live in communities like this, where people know everybody and know about each other, and so the support's been very good. I've had a lot of people reach out from the East Coast who I have friends with, and they're different than that because they live in maybe a little different environment than we do, and as you know, we're a product of our environments, but they're a little more harsh about some of the things that are going on, where it's a little less with the people in southern Idaho.
It's fair to say that the Israeli community in Idaho and the Palestinian community find a way, they get along here, whereas they don't elsewhere. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I find that very much the case. It's not unusual for me to have dinner with the imam from the mosque here in Twin Falls. So it is a very different situation than what they're living in Israel right now.
Okay. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said, in fact, today, what happens next will reverberate for generations. With that in mind, what would be your concerns as this violence continues?
Well, my biggest concern is as the violence continues, you don't know where it's going to spread. It may not stay on the little borders that we know in the Middle East. We're talking about the Middle East right now. It could spread differently. Hezbollah could come in, from the north, and that could happen any day and really bring this thing to a much bigger war than it is now. And so then you're fighting against other Middle Eastern countries. The other thing is we're not taking into account what my son said in Israel, which is we were fighting amongst ourselves so much. They were politically divided. They were, they were changing their Supreme Court, that the chaos that they were having, they weren't paying attention to what was going on outside their borders. And sometimes I wonder if maybe there's something to learn from this for the United States. Is if we've got to pay a little more attention to what we're doing so that this doesn't happen within, say, a New York City. So I just think that those are things that we can learn from this, and from, I think, the expansion of the war, if it does expand or if it goes on very long, is it's something that the world has to watch out for, because it can spread very fast.
Okay, right now it's roughly between two sides, and your fear is, as I gather, who chooses which side, and this thing expands out. To wrap this up, the Idaho Republican Party released a statement today in support of Israel, expressing support in Israel defending itself against Hamas. And you've mentioned the support you have there in the Twin Falls community. Wrapping this up, is there a solution to this, that this doesn't have to go on for a long time?
I don't know that the solution that has been proposed so far, which is give me all of the Palestinians, saying, give me all my people back that are in jail. I'll give you back the hostages, the women and children that we captured this weekend. We'll give them all back and everything will be fine. I don't think that's the solution. I think it would be wonderful if it would happen, but at the same time, it's not a solution. We're still going to go back to where we were, and there's still going to be the animosity and the fighting that's always going to go on until things definitely change, until the border changes.
Okay. Hard to get over those hurdles when this is all they've ever known are those hurdles. I want to thank you, current Rabbi Tony Prater with Beth Chaverim out of southern Idaho there in the Twin Falls community. Thanks for your time and explaining this conflict to us tonight.
Thank you, and let us all hope that this does get over sooner than later.
I'm sure many are echoing that. Rabbi Prater, thank you. You have a good night.